we can kind of go over introductions and introduce you to the breakout room. I know there were a lot of questions, so just as a reminder, what we're doing in this breakout room is not, we're not asking you to pick your favorite or vote or anything. What we're asking is that we look at the whole range of alternatives and we make sure that we have everything in there that you want to see studied. So if there's something missing or something that you have questions on, we can answer those questions. I'm Brian Manford. I'm a transportation planner with Nelson Nygaard. We're the consultant working with PlaceWorks on circulation. And I'm here with Sue Ellen Atkinson with the city of San Mateo, who's going to be taking notes, and Carrie, who's with PlaceWorks, who's here to answer questions. And then also, if you want to chat to me, that's someone from the city who will be guiding you this entire time. They'll be here the whole time. And so again, as a reminder, you don't have to change your group. You'll be staying in the same place, and me and other facilitators will come in and out. So now I'm going to share my screen, and you can see a map of the alternatives. So I'm going to zoom in on this in a second. But as I said, we have 3 alternatives, and this is for circulation. So the first alternative is prioritizing a walkable city. And all alternatives, A, B, and C, include adopted plans. So that is the bicycle master plan that was just adopted, the 2012 citywide pedestrian master plan, the downtown parking plan. It also includes existing programs like the neighborhood traffic management program. And then the city is also planning to begin a complete streets project in the near future that will also be looking at transportation, mobility, safety, and complete streets. And then things, it's noted in gray here, but the caltrain undercrossings are something that's being studied in all alternatives and is not unique to a single one. So that's true for all the alternatives. And then in alternative A, prioritizing walkable city, we have a few things to note. One is kind of a main one is this light blue downtown that's on B Street. So that would be pedestrianizing 2 blocks of a very pedestrian oriented area. This green line on El Camino Real is putting in high quality bike facilities and pedestrian or public realm improvements to make El Camino Real a better street for active transportation. We have these dark blue highlight looking lines, and those are missing sidewalks that would get filled in. There's a lot of kind of dotted lines, and those represent future projects, and those are based on the existing pedestrian master plan and the bike plan. So the green is pedestrian, and the kind of pink or purple is bike. And then this orange or red, depending on your screen, is mixed use trail, so that, or multi-use trail, so that's for pedestrians and bikes. So this is kind of the existing Bay Trail, and then some of the improvements are along 101, a new overcrossing at York, or that's not quite York, that's Cypress. And then another distinction of this alternative is, and partly to support the study area 8 and 9, is kind of improving the pedestrian infrastructure, making it safer. The blue dots are off-ramps, safety improvements at off-ramps, improving the bike network through here, adding a sidewalk, things like that. So that's alternative A. And then alternative B is about prioritizing connections to regional transit. So in addition to these city plans that I mentioned, Caltrain electrification is scheduled to be completed in 2023, which will include enhanced service. And then their 2040 business plan, which is the same life as this general plan effort, also envisions further improvements. And so to take advantage of that regional system, this alternative B looks at connecting people both in those neighborhoods and outside of those neighborhoods to transit. So it still has a lot of the same pedestrian and bike improvements, but we're also adding, sorry, I'm zoomed in so it's easier to see, but then you can't see the whole city. But this kind of yellow line here is a new transit line that's going east and west, connecting Study Area 6 to Hillsdale Station, and then also connecting Study Areas 9 and 10 out in Fashion Island to Hillsdale Station. And Hillsdale Station has the existing and future most trains and most frequent trains. And then another key distinction is El Camino Real having some kind of bus rapid transit or other bus improvements to make that corridor a better corridor for transit and people. And there's a lot of things that go into bus rapid transit, but it would be, you know, a series of improvements to improve the transit service and experience. And then the third alternative C combines elements of A and B. And so it's regional connections plus emerging mobility. And so we're looking at, you know, is it possible, do we prioritize transit, the yellow line on El Camino, while also enhancing the public realm and adding bikeway? So looking at studying if all that is possible for El Camino and envisioning a real transformation of El Camino. And then here, the light blue downtown, it's called a super block. It's from, the idea has been implemented in Barcelona, but rather than cutting through every intersection, it kind of forces rights at certain points, and then you have leftover space that you can use for plazas. And it's a traffic calming strategy that still allows people to access downtown. And we think about what that would maybe require, and maybe that would mean more grade separation. And then the other aspect of it is the same transit line that we saw in alternative B. What if this is re-envisioned maybe more as a deviated route shuttle system, automated vehicle type of emerging mobility? So those are the three alternatives that we're looking at for circulation. So now if anyone has any questions, you can put them in the chat. And then if there's any comments you have about additional things you'd like to see, we'd love to hear that as well.
I don't see any questions, but there was one comment saying that there aren't many transit improvements in the 94401 zip code.
Oh, that's great to hear. So it's also worth noting, I guess, that the transit agencies, or the city doesn't run the transit, Samtrans and Caltrain, and to some degree AC Transit provide transit service. And so most of the improvements are really built around those existing plans on El Camino and the Caltrain stations, but that's definitely something we can note down for transit improvements. But that's always going to be a partnership with those agencies.
And there are no other questions or comments at this time.
Okay, so we've tried to make three different alternatives that all address some of the changes to the study areas as well as serve all of the city. Is this the right range of alternatives to study? Other than the transit to the area code or zip code, are there other transit, bike, car, parking, other concerns or ideas that you have that you'd like us to include in the alternative.
I do have one comment here. It says there's a lot of transit. Oh, there is a lot of transit in 94401 zip code. The question is, why are you not showing my neighborhood on the map?
Okay, I'm not sure where that neighborhood is, but I'm happy to zoom to wherever the zip code is.
I'll let him respond to that. In the meantime, we do have a question. Can you please describe the changes to El Camino Real? Would the plan remove travel lanes to allow for the bike lanes? And we do have two other questions.
Yeah, so, and one thing to note too, El Camino Real goes through almost every city in San Mateo County, and then it also goes into Santa Clara County. And so anything that's done on El Camino Real has to be done kind of in coordination with those other cities. And it also is a state route, so it has to be done in coordination with Caltrans. So any like on the ground changes would go through a pretty strong process, and there have been existing ones. And so this doesn't get into the design, even conceptual design detail of, how wide is the road and what can fit. But the more things you're doing, like in alternative C, such as adding, potentially bus lanes and bike lanes, that would probably mean reconfiguring the lanes. That could mean fewer turn lanes. It could mean less parking or through lanes. But those design decisions would happen at a later date. We're just studying that that's an alternative.
Brian, do you mind if I share some additional information there?
That would be great.
Great. Hi, everyone. Sue Ellen Atkinson. I'm a transportation planner with Public Works for the city. At the same time as the general plan update we'll be starting during the ongoing general plan update and ending around the same time on a new San Mateo complete streets plan. The general plan, the goal of the general plan is to provide high level vision and policies for the city in the future, looking out to 2040. The complete streets plan takes that a step further, looking more into detail at the circulation network and specific projects and priority areas for improvement. So the question about what, for example, what projects might be done on El Camino or what might that look like in the future, that's something of that detail level would be addressed in the complete streets plan if El Camino comes up as a priority project area, and wouldn't necessarily be addressed quite in so much detail through the general plan.
Are there other comments?
Yeah, we have quite a few questions in here. Is the area that is downtown that closes the block considered for all three alternatives?
No, so in alternative A, and let me zoom in, we're looking at full pedestrianization, with maybe some limited like loading access and of course ADA accessible, but on just 2 blocks. That's alternative A. Alternative B, there's nothing specific called out for downtown beyond what's already in the existing bike and ped plans, which is considerable. And then alternative C is where it would be, a little bit more of a creative design and looking at kind of what kind of traffic calming is possible that also is opening up public space for people. And so that's shown in the lighter blue here, where it's not necessarily closing anything down, but it's also a little bit more widespread.
Okay, and another question, why isn't there a difference regarding FAR between low and medium mixed use density, but there is material height difference? And then it says, seems like there should be a gradient difference between how high, for example, 3, 4, or 5 FAR, especially along B Street corridor near transit on alternatives B and C. It seems like we should promote higher density near transit on all of these alternatives.
Yeah, and that's great feedback, but you'll need to, the best place to provide that is in the breakout group that's doing study area 4. This is just circulation, so we're not really taking in the, or I'm not very well informed on those nuances, but if you say that in that breakout group, they can take that down.
And what is meant by advanced technology bus loop?
So, you know, we're kind of waiting on the technology a little bit. If it was implemented this year, you know, it would probably have a driver. You know, driverless technology still requires a lot of capital investment. But, you know, 5 or 10 years from now, we don't know exactly where the technology would be at. But if there is some kind of driverless shuttle, rather than having a system where we have to pay a driver to do it, if a driverless shuttle is possible, that could help close some of the gaps in the transit network, especially, you know, as given the topography of San Mateo, it's hard to serve these areas with buses, but if there's kind of an automated shuttle, could that help provide better connectivity for those areas? So that's the concept. And then the advanced technology is kind of what's going to be available in the next 20 years that could be applied here.
And then let's see, if you don't design details during the development of alternatives, how can you evaluate traffic impacts?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what we'll do is there will be some assumptions that have to be made in the modeling, but we just can't take all of this into like a fine level design.
Can you explain? Oh,
Well, I just wanted to add in that the traffic modeling also considers the job and population growth in the different study areas. So it's not just based on these transportation alternatives.
Great, that's helpful.
can you explain the enhanced Caltrain service? Does this mean more trains or greater frequency, longer trains, or both?
It means all of the above. So the electrification will let them run more trains at the peak hour. So I think right now it's, well, pre-COVID it was 5, and this will let them run 6. And the trains will also be a little bit faster. So it'll cut down some of the travel time. And it's a different type of train. I don't know if I think it holds more people. I'm not sure if it's longer, but hopefully it's at least more frequent and a little bit faster. And it should also be quieter, and they're electric rather than diesel. So there's also some additional benefits of less diesel fumes.
Has any thought been given to making 3rd Avenue one-way westbound and 4th Avenue one-way eastbound?
So these are the downtown streets, not as part of this general plan, but I think that's something, as Sue Ellen said, in the complete streets as it's looking at the whole network, that's something that you know, we can take down tonight, and that would get implemented in that. So things like direction changes, some technology changes, it's called intelligent transportation systems, or ITS. Some of those types of it is infrastructure, but it's less, let's say, concrete, are things that the city is also doing, and the general plan also has policies in place around that. So there are some things that are harder to see on the map that are maybe going to be considered in that. But so things like, you know, changing up street directions is just like one level down from this general plan alternatives map, but that's still helpful feedback.
What funding is available from the state for the city taking on large increase of housing and transit? For example, money will be needed to hire more police officers to enforce speeding. Money will be needed to enlarge our third-party parking enforcement company, and for public works to install traffic calming devices. Who's responsible for getting the money? Is it city council?
Yeah, you know, some of these high-level questions are a little bit outside of the circulation discussion, but since we have some extra time, you know, we can talk a little bit about it. And Carrie, if you have thoughts, or Sue Ellen, feel free to step in. But the growth in San Mateo, and this is existing and future, does pay impact fees, and the way that impact fees are calculated take into account some of those additional needs, and it takes the assessment of the impact is based on the size of the project, and then also takes into account the need for different things like a school impact fee, transportation, and different categories. And it varies a little bit from city to city how they have that set up. But that's one way that the city, that kind of these new housing units would pay for some of the infrastructure that's needed to support them.
Yeah, and I'll just add on that as part of the alternatives analysis, we will be looking at the fiscal impacts to the city of each of the proposed alternatives, and those results will be shared with the community next year.
And another question, how long will the crossing guards be down post-electrification of the train versus pre-COVID? Will this materially impact the flow through of vehicular traffic during peak times?
Yeah, so, I would encourage you to go to, I forget the exact website, but Caltrain's business plan is very available. They did a large public outreach process, but those kinds of changes to the crossing will be done in coordination with the city, and kind of longer term, there may be some opportunities to create more separated crossings so that it doesn't have to, they're grade separated in the future, which are shown, those ones that are at grade are shown on the map here in the large gray square. And I don't know if you have any other information on that, Sue Ellen.
Yeah, I was just going to say the Caltrain business plan and all of the information that led to that plan is available on the Caltrain website. So that's their specific project page is caltrain2040.org. And all of that information is contained on that website as part of the documents.
But they are, both the cities along the peninsula and in Santa Clara County, as well as Caltrain, are trying to grade separate as many of the crossings as possible. But as we've seen with the recent one that opened near Hillsdale, they're very large projects and also very costly.
Let's see, I'm getting a lot of comments from Peter with lots of questions as well. Peter, if you wanted to speak on some of those, you can unmute yourself. Let me see.
Hi, this is Peter. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time. It's really appreciate the feedback and comments. But I'm a little confused about the process. If I understand that some of the assumptions, you're saying there's some of these are details are not going to be considered in the general plan, but will be considered in the, I forget what it was called, the other plan that you're doing. But it seems like you're talking about details like a circulator bus, an automated people mover, BRT. They're going to have much less impacts than some of these other details. So I'm confused about when you say that some level of detail, you're going to have to make assumptions, but then other levels of detail, you're going into great detail about. So I'm sorry, and I apologize the tone of voice, but I'm just a little confused.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And I'm sorry if it's not clear. We're trying to develop these alternatives to a level of detail that we can talk about the alternatives and also evaluate them and show them on the map. But what it takes to actually provide the finished documents to the contractor to build it, between now and then, some of these may change a little bit. So I can't say for sure. I don't even know today exactly how wide El Camino is across its entire length. So I can't say 100% for sure, what this exact design is, but I can say we know in this alternative, we're going to have bike lanes and enhanced pedestrian realm. And then in this alternative, we're going to have some kind of transit connection to these areas that are planned for growth. But where the stop is, who's providing that service, those details are to be worked out in the future. And I hope that makes sense. It's hard to ask questions on this type of thing and input when we don't have those details all totally worked out. So some of these I'm just trying to provide as illustrative details or conceptual details. I hope that helps answer the question.
Yes, and we are out of time.
Great. Well, thanks for all your input today, and enjoy the other 3 sessions.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, I will go ahead and start sharing my screen. Thanks everyone for joining us. So my name is Linda Lee. I'm an associate planner with the City of San Mateo. I'm also joined with Nikki Vu. He's a housing specialist with the city. And I believe the chat manager here is Nikki, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, Nikki. And so today we'll be going over study areas 2, 6, 9, and 10. So we are the more southern region of the study areas being considered. And just a reminder, the breakout group sessions, we are not coming to a decision whether we like alternative A, B, or C better. We're really looking for input, whether you think this is the right range of alternative scenarios being considered. And if not, are there any ideas or changes missing that you would like to see staff consider? So with that, I'll go ahead and move into the first study area for discussion. Okay. So study area 2, this is the southernmost portion of the city. This is along the San Mateo Belmont city border. Study area 2 includes the Molly Stone Shopping Center, Bel Mateo Bowl, includes portions of El Camino Real, Pacific Boulevard. And so the map you see in front of you, this is the existing general plan land use. Molly Stone Shopping Center, Bel Mateo Bowl, the current land use is colored teal. That represents a mix of neighborhood commercial, high density multifamily. East of El Camino Real. Sorry, I always have directional challenge thinking between east and west. So east of El Camino Real, the current colors that you see on the screen, pink, that represents service commercial. The red color represents neighborhood commercial. And so just to orient everyone, the red color, this is where the 7-Eleven gas station is located. And along, also included in the study area, the tan brown colors, that represents high density multifamily for the tan. And the brown is a mix of regional community commercial with high density multifamily use. The different alternatives being considered for study area 2, A, B, and C would look at introducing low-rise residential use in the Molly Stone and Bel Mateo Bowl Shopping Center. So that's represented by the light yellow or orange color. B and C would look at introducing mixed use. So that's represented by the low or the light blue color in B. That's for low rise mixed use. C would look at mixed use on this medium blue colored parcel. So that's where the 7-Eleven gas station is. So that would introduce or provide an opportunity, maybe to consider a mixed use village concept. And A would look at preserving that neighborhood commercial use. That's colored red, where the CVS is. And so again, just a reminder, the differences between A, B, and C. A would represent the least change, the least residential growth. B and C would present higher or more opportunities for more homes, populations growth. And so if you have any thoughts, comments about this study area, about the Molly Stone Shopping Center and Bel Mateo Bowl, feel free to enter them in the chat to your chat manager. And we can pause if there are any comments, Nikki, that you've received.
Yes, we do have one. Just to confirm, is that a possible 7-story residential in the far southwest?
Yes. So alternative C, this medium blue color you see, that's mixed use medium. And the place type menu currently, yeah, it's considering a range between 4 to 7 stories. Yes.
Oh, okay. Clarification on the question. He said not the far southwest. He meant by off North Road. So let me just restate the whole question. Is that
Okay,
a
go ahead.
possible 7-story residential by off North Road?
Yes. So if you look at the legend, so the different colors, it does include, you know, the potential of how high that building may be. That's 4 to 7 stories. So medium is, so low rise would be 1 to 3, medium would be 4 to 7. And again, the general plan looks at, you know, 20 years in the future, up to 2040. And so the general plan is considering the potential, but what gets actually built out, we don't know. So I hope that clarifies. Are there any other comments? Nikki?
No, I don't see any comments or questions right now.
Okay. And okay, so we have this room until 7:49, just so I get a good sense of time. Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and move into the next study area. But if you have any comments about study area 2, you're welcome to, you know, continue providing that comment in the chat to Nikki, your chat manager. The next study area, this is number 6. This is the area that's along State Route 92. It includes the Laurelwood Shopping Center, which is colored red. That represents the neighborhood commercial general plan land use. What you see colored purple, that is executive office use. And so this is the Campus Drive area. And, you know, the existing character of it is mainly office campus. The different alternatives being considered for study area 6, A, B, and C would look at introducing some residential use. So the orange color, what you see, that is consistent with a planning application that was approved for residential development, Peninsula Heights. So again, A would look at, you know, the least change in the existing general plan land use. It maintains some of the office use represented in the lavender color. This is for low rise office. B would look at more residential use. So there's low rise residential represented here along Campus Drive, but it would also preserve some office use, mainly towards closer to Laurelwood Shopping Center. That's the fuchsia color. So this is for medium office use. C would look at removing the office use designation entirely and bringing in medium residential use. Other key differences, A and B for Laurelwood Shopping Center would look at bringing in a low-rise mixed use. This is the light blue color you see on the screen. C would look at maintaining the existing general plan land use, which is neighborhood commercial. That's the red color. And so if you have any thoughts about this study area, about the Campus Drive, about the office uses, or Laurelwood Shopping Center, feel free to enter that in the chat.
And we do have 2 comments. So the first is it's kind of hard to see what places would be taken away. And I guess, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a good comment. So I think one tool that may help. So we do have an online survey where we are asking for further input on these study areas. And in the survey, there is a web map tool. And so you're able to zoom into the different study areas and look at the aerial, like satellite imagery, if that gives you a better sense of the existing study areas.
And would the Laurelwood Shopping Center go away in these alternatives?
No, so the general plan is really looking at providing opportunities, or it looks at, you know, land use, generally what can be allowed and permitted here. So although you see different land use colors being presented, well, C would maintain the existing neighborhood commercial. A and B, low-rise mixed use. So mixed use includes commercial. It also allows opportunity for residential and office to come in. So the general plan does not It doesn't intend to wipe out the shopping center. It's really looking at the land use and what could be allowed for future.
Just a note on time, we are halfway through.
Okay.
And let's see, we have a comment or another question. So potentially alternative C would allow a 7-story residential adjacent to the Pico Avenue Sequoia neighborhood.
Yeah, so the medium residential, that's the orange color here. It does consider allowing potentially between 4 to 7-story tall building. And if you have, a comment or opinion on it, you're welcome to enter that in the chat. But I hope that answers your question. Okay.
One more. Okay, might another alternative be to have higher densities near Laurelwood, but low residential as you get closer to the single family?
Okay. Thanks for that comment. So I will go ahead and move on to the next study area if there's no other comments, Nikki.
No other questions.
Okay, thank you. So the next study area, number 9, this represents Hillsdale Norfolk area. This is along the 101 East Hillsdale Boulevard Freeway exit area. So some landmarks to orient everyone. The Kaiser Medical Office, it's located along the Franklin Parkway parcel. This is currently designated regional community commercial. It's this pink color. Across from that, that's the Hillsdale Inn. On the east side of the freeway, what you see colored red, that represents neighborhood commercial, and that's where the Marina Shopping Center Plaza is located. Another landmark to note, what you see colored in this tan, that's high density multifamily. The existing use of that site is a senior assisted living facility. So this is just to provide everyone a sense of existing general plan land use. The different alternatives being considered for study area 9. A, B, and C, you'll notice at the Marina Plaza Shopping Center, there's different land uses being considered. A would look at introducing regional commercial use throughout the Marina Plaza Shopping Center. B would introduce medium mixed use, represented in this blue color. And C would look at maintaining that neighborhood commercial red color use, along with regional commercial. So there's a mix of the two. Other landmarks, so the Hillsdale Inn, you'll see that the color has changed from commercial to low residential. This is consistent with the planning project for residential development on this site. A, B, and C would also look at recognizing, the medical office building where the Kaiser building is, and that would be designated office, medium office, which is the purple fuchsia color. And so if anyone has any thoughts about the different alternatives, feel free to enter that in the chat.
I don't see any comments or questions for this study area, but we do have one for the previous study area 6.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and read off that question then.
Okay, so it says, this project area was recently approved for sale housing community. It seems the proposed residential density should follow the recently approved residential density of 15 to 25 units per acres versus 40 plus units per acre, which is an apartment development. This would better fit the context of the established neighborhood.
Okay, thanks for that comment. So
Linda, I'm
okay.
not positive that I just dropped into your room and just
okay, no worries.
And I know that all of the alternatives are intended to reflect pending approved residential projects on Campus Drive. So I'm not sure of the specific project being referred to, but I know that maybe you guys talked about this while I wasn't here, but you can see that there's 4 parcels that are all that same shade of orange in all 3 alternatives, and that's part of the approved project. So there may be an additional one here that Preston is referring to, but we did intend for the alternatives in all study areas in all cases to match projects that are already approved or recently approved.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying, Joanna. Yes, I don't know the exact densities at the top of my head right now, but we do have that information available online on our planning website. And yeah, although all 4 parcels are shown as orange, it's not necessarily true that all the parcels were developed for residential use, I believe.
Okay, well, it looks like Preston just wants us to be aware that this could be, the approved project is closer to 20 unit acres. So appreciate that feedback, and we'll take a look at that as we're refining the alternatives. Thank you, Preston.
Nikki, did you get any comments about study area 9?
I did not. There are no new comments or questions.
Okay. So with that, I'll go ahead and move on to study area 10. This is the Bridgepoint Shopping Center. Existing general plan land uses, what you see colored red. This is regional community commercial. So this is the existing location of a hotel. And around the Bridgepoint Shopping Center, what's colored purple, that represents executive office use. And within the shopping center itself, it's a mix, it's colored brown, and that includes a mix of regional, community commercial, and high density multifamily uses allowed. So study area 10 looks at introducing various concepts for the Bridgepoint Shopping Center. So A would look at community commercial throughout the shopping center. B would introduce low-rise mixed use, which is colored blue, light blue. C would bring in what you see colored orange, that's medium residential use. Other changes to note, between A, B, and C, there's a parcel along Fashion Island Boulevard. A would look at medium residential use on this parcel, whereas B and C would maintain the office use, but at a medium rise scale. And around the Bridgepoint Shopping Center, there is a mix of commercial use. So for Home Depot, that's regional commercial. Along the outside, it would be a mix of office and residential use. So if there are any comments, feel free to share.
Just a note on time, we have about 5 more minutes left, and I am not receiving any comments or questions.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I can share some, what we've heard in past breakout rooms and workshops. We have heard support for mixed use being considered at the Bridgepoint Shopping Center. There was, comments about, different types of shopping center. I think there was like a Santa Ana idea that a participant had shared that they would like to see in this area.
Sorry, Linda, are you referring to Santa Ana Road?
Yeah, but that was just a comment from like one of the earlier workshops.
Right, okay. Just
yeah, not from today. Okay. So if you didn't hear that, it's because it wasn't shared today. And so does anyone have thoughts about, seeing residential units developed on Bridgepoint Shopping Center? Thoughts about mix of, so for mixed use, that can be anything from office, commercial to residential.
I have a comment. It says, it seems that due to the proximity to the Visa building and existing Glebe, this would be a good place for commercial or mixed use and high density.
Thanks for that comment.
And I don't have any questions.
Okay. Can we do a quick time check?
Yes, we have about 3 minutes.
Okay. So I can go ahead and share, we can do a quick recap and kind of walk through what we've heard so far today. Let's see. Okay. So this is group D. So far what we've heard in this group for study area 2, this is the Mateo Bull and Mollystone Shopping Center. There was one comment or one question about the residential medium rise along North Road, that it is a 7-story development. Next study area, number 6, this is the campus drive. We heard feedback about the land use, that the density, that it's developed with a lower density than what is shown in the alternative, which is for a higher density medium specifically. Alternative B, there was feedback about locating higher density near Laurelwood Shopping Center, but tapering it off as we approach the single family residential neighborhoods. Next study area, number 9, Hillsdale, Norfolk. We did not hear any comments. Study area, Bridgepoint, number 10. The feedback we heard was this would be a good place for a mix of commercial or mixed use at high density. Are there any additional comments in the chat, Nikki?
Not at this time, and we have about less than a minute left.
Okay. Yeah, does anyone have questions about the place type menu or online survey?
Getting some comments that study area 6, alternative B looks good. It's more dynamic. People can access local stores easier, but there is a lot of parking. Oh, and we are out of time.
All right. Thank you everyone for your time tonight. Enjoy the next study area discussions.
Any questions that I can answer or help with while we wait for our next team to join us?
Yeah, if people wanted to access these web links after tonight, where would they go?
Sure. So if you go to the strivesanmateo.org website, there is one of the tabs there is for workshops and meetings. And that is the place to find the materials for tonight. If there's a specific piece of the material, I'm happy to go right now and get a link to it. But if you want to be able to see all the materials for tonight in one place, it's at strivesanmateo.org.
And not seeing any other questions.
Well, I'll just take a second to thank you guys for your attention and your thought about these alternatives. We really appreciate your input.
And another question, during today, other websites have been mentioned. Will these also be on the Strive website?
I'm not sure what that's a reference to. Which other websites?
Peter, are you able to clarify which websites? Actually, Peter, we'll come back to that. We have to start our next session. Julia and Wendy are here.
Yes, hi. So give me a moment. I'm gonna adjust my screen so I have that. And so I am going to be covering, can you guys see my screen currently?
Yes.
Perfect. So I'm going to be covering 4 study areas. Study area 1, which is the northern segment of El Camino. Study area 4, which is downtown. and then study area 5, which is North San Mateo Drive up to Peninsula, and then study area 7, which is Highway 101, and then both sides of that. And so there's 2 key questions that we're going to be asking for the community to keep in mind as we go through the study areas. And these are what we're asking for your input on. So this is one of the questions is this the right range of alternative scenarios? And then the second question is, are there ideas or changes missing that you would like to see evaluated? So just real quickly, my name is Julia Klein, and with me this evening is Wendy. She will be your note taker. And maybe I can skip this slide. I think the other presenters also covered it as well. As you probably heard from the last presenters, and there are key differences between the 3 alternatives. Alternative A has the least change. Alternative B has the second highest residential growth that's spread evenly across the 10 study areas. And then alternative C has the highest residential growth, and it's concentrated along the rail corridor in the downtown. Alternative A, study area 1, which is the North El Camino segment. The current mix of uses are medium density and high density residential, as well as some office mixed in with high density sort of mixed use. So the 3 alternatives for study area 1, as you'll note in this area, in the southern portion, you'll note that there's a dark brown color, which is a high residential, and then a medium shade of blue, and that's a medium mixed use. And then in the middle, where El Camino and Poplar intersect, you'll see that that area is indicated as a light orange color, and that's for low residential. And so that's alternative A. Alternative B, you'll see that there's still, on the southern end of that segment is still that darker brown color, and that's again residential high. And then in the middle, where Poplar and El Camino is, that area is a commercial neighborhood. Then in alternative C, you still have that darker brown color in terms of that orange triangle area, and then slightly north of that is a mixed use high. And then in Poplar and El Camino, that area is sort of that orange color, reflecting the same orange color for the rest of the Camino, and that's residential medium. With these mixes of different residential and commercial colors are reflected in terms of net new housing and net new jobs, and so that's reflected in the table at the bottom. Are there any questions or comments about this? Are there any areas you would like me to zoom in on?
We do have a question. Does high refer to buildings with 8 or more stories, whether residential or commercial?
So certainly, I think, so for high, this darker brown color, it is 8+ stories. And then for high in blue, it is also 8+ stories.
And I don't have any other questions or comments coming in.
Okay, so why don't we go down to the next study area, which is study area 4, and this is the downtown. So in downtown area, what you'll know is that the first thing to know is that the central area here, which is the historic district in downtown, that is shown and reflected in all 3 alternatives. Addition to that, you'll note that there is a lighter blue color in the first alternative, and that's reflective of medium mixed use. In alternative B, you'll see some of those areas changing to a darker blue, which is reflective of high mixed use. And then in alternative C, there's more of those high mixed use colors. The other key area to kind of focus in on is the residential. In alternative A and alternative B, the portion that's from El Dorado to Highway 101 is this medium orange color, and that's medium residential. In alternative C, you'll note that along the border of that, the residential color changes to a lighter orange, and that's reflective of residential low. And then one other area to kind of note is along the railroad area. This is from 5th Avenue South. You'll note that in alternative A, both sides of the railroad is this blue color, the light blue color for medium mixed use. In alternative B, some of those parcels are changing to residential medium. And then in alternative C, you'll see that some of the parcels that are west of the railroad is residential high. And then the properties that are east of that is mixed use medium. So with these differences in colors are also reflected in changes in net new dwelling units as well as net new jobs. And that's reflected in the table at the bottom. Are there any questions, comments, areas you would like me to zoom in on?
I don't have any questions, but there's a comment that for this study area and others, should there be a broader blend of density, 3 to 5, 6 to 7, or 8 or more? It seems like lumping 5 to 8 in one grouping, regardless of the use, might not be as clear.
Okay, thank you for that comment.
And then a question, oh, could you please zoom in to the area with high use?
While you're doing that, Julia, I will just note one thing I didn't really make clear in the presentation is that we're using kind of simplified set of land use categories for these land use alternatives. They don't match up exactly with the existing general plan designations. And so we are kind of grouping things together, perhaps in different or maybe larger groups than they will be once we have a preferred scenario, and then we can refine the land use designations a little bit. So input about how those designations might be refined is helpful. Thank you.
And we do
Julia, I received a, oh,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I have a comment too. I can read it out loud. It says, I think the B and C alternatives should allow for sites within a certain radius of transit to be allowed to increase their FAR beyond 3.0 FAR to provide more community benefits, such as affordable housing, enhanced public realm areas, and contribute to parking transit solutions. The more concentration of commercial area around the main retail corridor will create a more vibrant retail environmental. Also, by concentrating the higher traffic generating uses around transit will reduce the burn of flow through traffic through the residential communities. Why isn't there a difference regarding FAR of 3.0 FAR between low and medium mixed use density, but there is material height difference of 4 stories to 7 stories? Seems like there should be a wider gradient between the low to high mixed use densities, example 3, 4, and 5 FAR. Otherwise, the incremental height doesn't seem very usable. Density should especially increase along the B Street corridor, near transit on alternatives B and C, such as mixed use high. It seems like we should promote higher density near transit on all these alternatives. And that's the end of the comment.
Okay, thank you for that detailed comment.
We have 2 questions and we are almost at halfway through. The first is Caltrain going to be raised downtown?
We do not have that information from Caltrains yet.
And then the next question is, will we have an opportunity to comment upon the refined land use designations?
There will be. So that is at a later stage, and perhaps Joanna, you can speak to that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. The land use designations at a minimum are going to be part of the draft general plan. And when we get to that phase, there's going to be a, that will be out for public review for some time for people to review and comment on. And, you know, to the extent that we contemplate changes to the general plan land use designations, that's probably something that we'll actually bring forward maybe to the general plan subcommittee, even in advance of publishing the draft general plan. So the land use designations and where they begin and end and what they allow and don't allow and how they define density and floor area ratio are very important questions and stuff that we want to make sure we're talking about with the community. And I think in that previous comment, there was kind of a question embedded. And Preston, I think, you know, just to be sure you're getting your questions answered, the person who's responsible for making sure that we're capturing them is Chat to Me. So just make sure that you send your comments there, and that's the safest place for them, because the rest of us are also doing other jobs, but that person's only job is to capture your chat. So use Chat to Me, take full advantage. They're there to help you out. But I will see if I can find this question and answer it. I think it's the one about FAR. Why isn't there a difference regarding FAR of 3.0 FAR between low, medium, mixed use density, even though there's a material height density of 4 to 7 stories. So if you're not a planning nerd like myself, then this might be kind of hard to interpret for you. But as I mentioned in the presentation, FAR is floor area ratio. It has to do with how much of the site a building can cover. So it's not exactly the same measurement as height, but it's tied to the height of the building versus how much of the site the building takes over. So Preston, I think you have a valid question, and it requires too much math for me to answer off the top of my head right now. But it's something that we should probably take a closer look at as we refine the alternatives and think about whether the FAR ranges might be adjusted to better match up with the height ranges that we're talking about. They're not always a one-to-one comparison, but they are tied together. So they might need to move a little bit more in conjunction with each other as you're asking about this difference between mixed use and low and medium density. Thanks, Julia, for letting me make that long speech.
Are there any additional comments or questions?
We just have one comment. It says, it seems like that if the population of downtown is going to be raised so much, Caltrain should be elevated for safety and traffic congestion. Just a note on time, we are just past halfway through and I don't see any other questions.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and go to the next study area, and thank you for that comment. So the next area is study area number 5. Again, this is North San Mateo Drive, going up to Peninsula Avenue. And the current color is, reflect the current sort of land use designations. Mostly this medium to high density residential. There's some regional commercial as well as neighborhood commercial, and then office mix in there. What we're looking at in terms of the 3 alternatives, the key areas to focus on, as you'll note in the Safeway shopping, this is the Woodlake Shopping Center area. In alternative A, that's remaining as commercial neighborhood. Alternative B and C is seeing some of that area changing to medium mixed use and then low mixed use. Along with that is along Peninsula Avenue, you'll see that there's in alternative A, that lighter orange color, which is low residential. In the alternative B, there's that color, which is the medium orange, which is a medium residential. And then in alternative C, it's introduction of a mixed use medium along Peninsula Avenue. In addition to that, you'll want to note that along North San Mateo Drive and Poplar, in alternative A, you have that red color, which is a neighborhood commercial. And then this light purple color, which is low office. In alternative B, that whole area is medium mixed use. And then in alternative C, that area is red and purple again, but you'll also note that portions of the blocks that are south of that are high density residential. So those are the key sort of differences. And then with those color changes or color differences are reflected in differences in net new dwelling units as well as net new jobs. So are there any questions, comments? If there's any certain, any areas you'd like me to zoom in on, I can certainly do that as well.
I am not receiving any questions or comments.
Okay. We can also jump to the next one, which is study area 7, and then come back if anybody has any thoughts on these, any of the other ones later on. So study area number 7 is North Shore View. And what we're looking at is existing a mix of uses are service commercial, which is that pink color. And then on the other side is a mix of high density residential. And the Shoreview Shopping Center is this red color over here. And so in terms of alternative A, you'll note that most of the area along North Amplet is remaining that service commercial. And then on the other side of the freeway, in terms of the Shoreview Shopping Center, that area is shown as low mixed use. And then when you go into alternative B, along North Amplet, there's a combination of that medium residential as well as this dark brown color, which is the high residential. And then the Shoreview Shopping Center area is designated as a mixed use medium. In alternative C, The 3 blocks along North Amplet, the southern portion North Amplet, those are indicated as residential medium. And then the Shoreview Shopping Center includes a portion that is mixed use high. Again, with these color differences, is associated with net new housing units as well as differences in terms of jobs. And then are there any questions or comments?
Just a note on time, we have about 5 more minutes left, and I am not receiving any questions or comments.
On study area number 7, okay. Are there any, we can also, let me go ahead and share. Are you guys able to?
Sorry, Julie, I just received one comment. It says, given the proximity to 101, might this better reserved for office or commercial?
Thank you for that comment.
And that was all.
Okay. And then are you guys able to see, Wendy is typing away and making sure that we capture your comments and your questions. Are you guys able to see the Google document?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So it looks like we do have comments for study area 4, 5, and number 7. I think Wendy's typing, and so the comment about this is, given proximity to freeway, this is an opportunity for offices. And
yeah, I actually typed it already. I don't know why it's not showing up on your screen yet. Maybe there's a little delay.
A little delay. Okay. So I think the only area that maybe we didn't have any initial comments on was study area number 1. And I didn't know if anybody here had comments on this right now that you would like to share. Any questions?
I am not seeing any.
Okay. Are there any of the other study areas that you would like me to go back to? Otherwise, we can go ahead and recap on some of the comments that we've received. And so for study area in downtown, I think we had some questions, but also let me just go ahead and highlight and touch on the comments. One comment was recommend high density around the train station. With the ... I think Wendy's going to come back here and watch the video and then make sure to type out the rest of the comment.
Oh, Julia?
Yes.
I think that was breakout room 2. If you scroll down.
Oh, sorry, breakout room. Wrong. Did I jump to wrong one? Okay.
Yeah, so there's no lag. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I scrolled too far up. So I think thank you for writing this detailed comment down, Wendy. So for study area 4, we had, I won't read the long one because Wendy did earlier, but the second comment was, should there be a broadened blend of density? And so it seems that lumping in some heights together, regardless of use, might not be clear. And so thank you for that comment. And then there was
Julia?
another. Yes.
Sorry, we do have a question that came in for study area 1.
Great.
And the question is, why does alternative 3 have less population increase in this study area?
So one of the things to note is that some of the population growth is tied into what may be accommodated in terms of the housing. And the housing, even though all 3 of the alternatives show that medium residential color, with that medium residential, and I'll just go ahead and refer to the place types menu, is that the medium residential orange color is reflective of a range in density. And so some of that density could be on the lower end, which is the 40 units per acre versus the higher end, which is 99 units per acre. And so as you might have a building that may have the same massing, may have the same height, but the size of the units and the number of units that are contained within that building might be different. And so as you're looking at, these orange colors on these 3 alternatives, even though they're all the exact same orange color, these numbers in terms of net new dwelling units and the associated population that those units are anticipated to accommodate is based on that range of density, within that orange color.
Okay, and we are out of time, which is great because we have no more questions or comments.
Okay, great. Thank you everybody for your time.
Thank you.
Hey everyone. Let me just pull my slides up here. Okay. So our particular breakout is focused on two sections of study area 1, which are here just south of Central Park down to about 92. And then this section south of Hillsdale Mall from about 36th to 40th along El Camino. We have study area 8, which is the 101-92 interchange and the immediately surrounding areas. And then study area 3, which is our largest study area in San Mateo. It includes El Camino, also Bay Meadows. It includes Concar and Station Park Green, and the 2 caltrain stations here, along with Hillsdale Mall. So it includes a large section of the city. So that's generally been generating the most comments. So we can spend as much time or as little time on any of these as you'd like, but I figured we could just jump in with study area 8 and then sort of see where we go from there. So study area 8, again, is this 101-92 interchange area. And so to orient you to sort of what's there now, the Marriott is here on this parcel. There's an office complex or an office park up here at the north end of the study area. Parkside Plaza is here in this sort of mint green color. There's an office development here at the northwest corner of this interchange. And then south here of 92, there's currently an office, and then the fish market would be in this red parcel right here. So to sort of highlight the high level differences between the 3 alternatives, I'll start at the north end of the study area. So this section up here, which is currently an office complex, would be a residential low in both A and C, and residential medium and alternative B. Across all 3 alternatives, the Marriott stays the same land use, as does this office complex here. It's office high in all 3. And then on the west end of this, this parcel, these 2 would be mixed use low in alternative A, and then they're mixed use medium in B and C. Parkside Plaza is different in all 3. So in alternative A, it's a mixed use low designation. It's a residential medium in alternative B. And then it's a mixed use medium in alternative C. And then this parcel down here, which is currently an office complex, would be an office medium in alternative A. It would be a residential low in alternative B, and then a residential medium in alternative C. And then the last major difference is this parcel here where the fish market is currently located. It's a commercial neighborhood in both A and C, and a mixed use medium designation in alternative B. And so as you all are thinking about comments or questions, just to provide a sort of high level overview of the differences, alternative A in study area 8 has the lowest amount of growth as it does in study area A across the city. But B and C here are fairly similar in terms of net new population. It's about 2,500 in B, 2,700 in C. It's more about where that population growth will be focused or concentrated within the study areas. So with that, do we have any questions, comments, or anything missing from any of these alternatives that you would like to see studied as part of this process for study area 8?
I did receive one comment. It says that it might be worth considering using the site adjacent to 101 for office or mixed use rather than residential medium.
So office adjacent to 101.
The purple?
Yeah, which,
Or the peach.
so if it's residential medium, maybe it's the comments in reference to this one. I don't know, commenter, could you elaborate on which parcel in particular you were referencing?
Yes, he says adjacent to the Marriott.
Okay, so this one up here.
Okay, so that one is already residential. I'm wondering if he was talking about the purple one south of the Marriott.
Oh, he said it would be worth considering to use it for office or mixed use rather than residential.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry. Thank
Okay,
you.
so a mixed use or office option in one of the three alternatives.
Yes,
for the
got it.
And that was the only comment. I don't see any questions.
Okay. We could take additional questions or comments if you think of anything as we go, but I will move on to study area 3, which is our largest study area. And just to orient everyone, this is the El Camino and 92 interchange here. And then this study area runs from about 17th Avenue here on El Camino. This is Burrell Square Shopping Center. Runs all the way down to the southern end of Hillsdale Shopping Center. It includes the 2 Caltrain stations, Hayward Park and Hillsdale. It also includes Bay Meadows, the Concar development, and Station Park Green up here. And so most of the differences that you're going to see between the alternatives are going to be concentrated in the area that's west of the Caltrain tracks, because much of this area has either been recently developed or is proposed to be developed. So much of the land use differences you're going to see are going to be in this sort of western half of the study area. So just to highlight the major high-level differences between the three, the Burrell Square Shopping Center in alternative A is a mixed-use medium designation. This 25th Avenue corridor is mixed-use low. And then the Hillsdale Shopping Center and surrounding area is a combination of mixed-use medium and then this regional commercial designation here. Alternative B, the Burrell Square Shopping Center is a residential medium designation. And in all three alternatives, it has this sort of privately owned public open space feature here. The 25th Avenue corridor is a mixed use medium, so slightly more dense here in alternative B. And then again, the Hillsdale Shopping Center and surrounding areas are a combination of mixed use medium and this regional commercial here. And then finally, in alternative C, this Burrell Square Shopping Center parcel is a mixed use high designation here. This area along 25th Avenue is still a mixed use medium as it is in alternative B. And then the Hillsdale Shopping Center is a combination of mixed use high and mixed use medium here. So I will pause here. I'll also put all three of them up next to each other on the screen so you can get a sense of the major differences between the three, and also welcome any questions or comments about this or the prior study area.
I have one comment. It suggests expanding the boundaries to include existing high-rise office further along Bovet and Burrell.
Okay, so this northwest section up here.
Mm-hmm. Got it. I think someone else made that comment before, so I know what you're talking about.
And I'm not receiving anything else.
Okay. And again, happy to revisit any of these alternatives in particular on their individual slides, but I'll leave this up for another few seconds here so everybody can take a look at the comparison.
Sorry, I got a comment to review this study area one more time. Yep.
Study area, this study area?
I believe the study area you're showing right now, yes.
Okay, so just run through the major differences one more time.
Yes.
Okay. So in alternative A, Burrell Square Shopping Center is a mixed-use medium designation. This 25th Avenue stretch of shops and retail is a mixed-use low here. And then Hillsdale Shopping Center and this parcel to the north is a combination of mixed-use medium and regional commercial. Alternative B is, so Burrell Square is a residential medium here. 25th Avenue is slightly more dense and a mixed use medium designation. And then down here around the shopping center, it's a commercial regional again and a mixed use medium. So similar to alternative A. And then with alternative C, Burrell Square is more dense, it's mixed use high in this alternative. 25th Avenue is mixed use medium, so the same as in alternative B. And then down here around Hillsdale, it's a combination of a mixed use medium and mixed use high designation.
Thank you. And there is a comment that this study area is a complex area and that we might consider splitting into north and south.
Okay, thank you for that comment.
No other questions or comments, and we're about almost halfway through.
Okay. And recognizing the complexity of this study area in particular, I also want to encourage folks to utilize the online survey tool. If you want to take some time to review the major differences and sort of provide your feedback on your own time, that's a great way to sort of go at your own pace and also zoom in on particular sections of the study area as well. Okay, so let's feel free to keep adding additional comments about this study area. I'm gonna go to study area 1 just to make sure that we cover all of them before we end. And so again, this section of study area 1 is along El Camino between about Central Park down to just north of 92, just north of the Burrell Square Shopping Center actually. And so currently is a mixture of retail, community, commercial largely. So between the three alternatives, it's sort of divided into two in terms of how you look at the differences between the three. So north of 12th Avenue here, in alternative A, it's primarily a mixed use low designation with a residential low with this parcel here. Alternative B is slightly more dense. So it's a combination of mixed use medium, this residential medium here, and then a mixed use high at the northern end. And then alternative C is a combination of mixed use medium, a residential medium here. And then if you look at the southern half of the study area, you see in alternative A, a combination of mixed use medium and then actually office high for these two parcels. Alternative B, this brown is a residential high. So primarily residential high, there's again, this office high here, and then a mixed use high use at this southern end of the study area. And then alternative C is a combination of mixed use medium with some residential medium here, and then two of these office high parcels as well. So I'll pause there and let everyone take a look at the maps and feel free to comment on this or any of the previous study areas as well.
We have a question. Any consideration to extending this study area along 16th Avenue past Safeway toward the Caltrain station?
Okay, we can take that comment in. So that would sort of be either extending study area 3 north to capture this section over here, or extending this one east, if I'm understanding the comment correctly.
And I'm not seeing any other questions or comments.
Okay. So then I could go to the last portion of study area 1, which is this southern end. It's south of study area 3. Right now, it's primarily a combination of regional or community commercial and neighborhood commercial here with this red designation along 37th Avenue. So across the three alternatives, in alternative A, this the southern side of 37th Avenue is a commercial neighborhood, as is this section fronting El Camino Real going south to the southern end of the study area, also a commercial neighborhood. And then this northern parcel here, FedEx would be a mixed use low and a residential medium combination. In alternative B, the southern side of 37th Avenue is residential low in this alternative. And then the area along El Camino is primarily a mixed use low designation here. And then alternative C is sort of a combination of the two. So 37th Avenue on the south side would be a mixed use low, as would this portion of El Camino. And then the southern few parcels here on El Camino would be a neighborhood commercial designation. And then the northern section here where the FedEx is would be a combination of residential medium and neighborhood commercial. And then in terms of this long parcel to the east of El Camino, it's commercial service in alternative A, and then neighborhood commercial in B and C. So happy to answer any questions, take any comments, just to make sure that we are collecting the right range or presenting the right range of alternatives between one of these three.
I'm not seeing any questions or comments. I do have, oh, here's one comment. Where are the new residential to accommodate 2,000 plus residents in this zone?
Oh, it's a good question. So this box here is referring to the entirety of study area 1. So let me sort of orient you to the full study area. So that would include the new land uses in this section of study area 1 up here at the northern end of El Camino. It would include this section here, and then include the southern section of study area 1. So it's showing you the projected population growth for all three of those portions of study area 1 combined, not necessarily for this one 4-block stretch here along El Camino.
No other questions or comments for this study area, but I do have one comment for the previous study area.
Okay.
And that one says, there is good access to the Hayward Station. It might make sense to encourage more intense development immediately to the west.
Okay, so that was probably in reference to adding that section along 16th towards the Caltrain station.
Yeah, that came in right after that question.
Okay.
And a note on time, we have about 6 more minutes. And I don't see any other questions coming in.
Okay. And feel free to also chat in if you would like us to review any of the study areas. You want me to go back in the presentation to anything that we may have already covered. If you want some more time with a particular map, happy to do that too.
I just wanted to clarify on the access to the Hayward Station on the west. I believe that was similar to the comment about expanding 16th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So that whole area there, got it. Behind Safeway to the train station.
Yes.
Okay.
And I still don't see any other questions here. We have about 5 minutes left.
Okay. I also noticed we're low on participants in this breakout session. I think there's only 5 of us in here. So not to put all of the onus on the couple of San Mateo residents or guests that we have in this breakout session. If you do have comments, happy to take them.
I think we've lost people as it's gotten later and later.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
Well, in previous study areas, we've had some time too, so the presenters just did a quick recap on the study areas in the last 4 minutes we have.
In terms of the feedback that we got and sort of repeating it.
Yeah, that would help.
I can wrap that up.
Okay.
So I didn't include questions, but some of the comments that we received for the Parkside Plaza area consider mixed use office instead of all residential options for that site north of the Marriott along 101. Right now, I believe all the options are residential.
Yeah.
And then at the, I think this was study area 3, yeah, because it had to do with the Burrell Shopping Center, to expand and this would be a good time to clarify this, to expand the study area slightly, looks like to the west of Beauvais Road and Boreal. There's an office park back there. I believe the intent was to include that office park. It's an older office park with low story buildings. And then 2 comments about expanding the study area in that area from Safeway to Hayward Park Station, because there's good access to the train station to encourage more density in that area.
And that was correct. That one comment said include the office park.
Yes, include the office park. Thank you. That's what I had in my mind. That's not exactly what I wrote. Thank you. Okay.
So I think,
yeah, so those were the main comments.
okay. I think on that 16th Avenue comment, it could include either expanding study area 3 to the north here because it ends just south of there, or it could include expanding study area 1 to the east.
Okay, yeah, I put it in the 1 because that's where it was, but it could go either way. Thank you.
And just another comment that I received, just again highlighting that this is a complex area and it might be easier to evaluate if it were split into 2 zones.
Okay, yeah, that was the rail corridor area, right? Or yeah, okay, got it.
I think we have about 2 more minutes if
okay.
anyone has any other questions or comments.
And let me know if you want me to put up any of the other maps. This is our sort of most complex one, so I'm leaving this one up here.
Just a comment of gratitude. Thanks for explanations and considering our comments and suggestions.
Thank you for taking the time
Pleasure.
to join us.
Yeah. Well,
I wish I had some good jokes. Do you have any good jokes, Andy?
yeah, thanks everybody. I'm just thinking, Brian, this is our 12th presentation.
Yeah, you're probably sick of hearing me say the same thing over and over.
Well, I feel like you and I probably know the studiers, but I feel for the community members that are looking at this. So that's why we really recommend taking the survey and looking at these at your own time, because then you can really drill down on some of those small sites that are hard to see on these maps.
All right, we have 10 seconds until we return back. So thank you very much, Brian and Sandy.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everyone.